Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys and the Sounds in Cinema podcast.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Is the House Party edition. Today we talk House Party 3. Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the man grabbing the mic. Maybe his jammy jams. I don't know. Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hi, Tom.
It's 1 o'clock. Do you know where your testicles are?
All right.
That's Showboat.
Showboat, yeah.
Who, for me, owns the comedy of this film.
Okay. I was gonna... So, it's so funny you say that because I was gonna... You seem to intimate on our ranking episode that, you know, this movie made you laugh a lot.
Did?
And I was
did
wondering...
more than intimate that.
You said it outright.
There's a recording of me saying it.
And I was racking my brain. I thought I think a lot of the humor in this movie lands flat. But I'll give it up for Showboat. Showboat's funny.
And even when it does land flat, and I'll concede to that, I think, you know, it's funny people doing it. It's people who are capable doing it. Like, no, you know, it's not the best Bernie Mac performance I've ever seen.
Okay.
But it's Bernie Mac doing it.
True.
So you're already ahead of the game, I think.
Fine. All right. Well, the news is not good for you, friend. There are only 10% or 10 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for House Party 3, your favorite of the sequels.
It's not my favorite of the sequels.
Oh, did you? You listed this at the top.
I keep telling you this, and you keep not listening. House Party 2 is still the top of my list. I said I said it's very close between these two films.
Okay, fine.
So while your overall point is well taken, I feel like I do have to fight you on, you know, the facts of the matter.
I'm trying to dig a deeper hole for you than you deserve.
This is like it's like an attack ad.
Exactly right.
in
Tom Stewart says the House Party.
Is it election season? My God.
House Party 3 is his favorite movie of the series. No, I don't. I haven't said that.
It made him laugh. ...
Yes. Well, it does have 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
0? What?
Yeah.
How's that possible? That's never happened before.
Well, like I said, I can only find 10 reviews of it, but all 10 do not like it.
Wait a minute. This is news to me that anything could get 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. What's the...
Oh, well.
Is that big... If you don't have enough
Stay tuned for our next episode.
Well, okay. Yeah, that... If you'd have presented it to me in association with that film, I would have fewer questions.
Okay.
But as it stands, if you don't get enough reviews, does that mean you get a 0? Or are all these people who are reviewing it saying 0%?
They're all saying it's a bad movie.
Right, but...
All 10 reviews. I don't think you know how Rotten Tomatoes works.
No, I don't. Clearly.
It's not each person gets to say,
no.
What percentage do you give the movie?
But how do you come up with 0%?
When all people that have reviewed it poorly, which is what happened.
Okay. Well, it still doesn't make sense to me. How did Terminator Salvation get 5% then? Because just a lot of people did it and raised the average?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it had 100 reviews, 5 people said, "Hey, good movie."
Okay. Well, now I can understand that, because that sounds like Family Feud now, and I understand the concept of the way they do things.
This has been the "This is how math works" portion of the Everything Sequel podcast.
I still don't really understand what you're saying, but you said something that sounded like Family Feud, So
All right.
now I'm just thinking that they asked 100 people what they thought of House Party 3, and they
Well,
said,
they asked 10, and 10 said it's shite.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wow, I mean,
You're flabbergasted.
I'm flabbergasted. Look, I sometimes I genuinely, and this is, has historically been true with me. Sometimes I don't understand what people are looking for when they go into a movie, and this is a prime example of this. Like, this seems to me like a really solid entertainment package for this material, which, by the way,
All right.
is made by and for comedians, musicians, and dancers.
Right.
This is a perfectly appropriate vehicle for that. For me,
All right.
I like.
I
don't know,
liked
I
it.
don't feel like
I'm on the side of everyone else. I liked it far less. There are things in it that I appreciate sequel wise, but
I mean, but you're not one of the 0%ers.
well,
you
no,
can't-
I would give the film a negative review. I would say
Well, not what below.
this is
zero?
not it. I have said this is not a good movie.
What? So yeah, but you would give it something, right? You would.
That's not how Rotten Tomatoes works, for fuck's sake.
But now you're talking about negative. So can people give like negative 50%? Is that what happened?
No. There's no percentage for each individual.
All right.
It is a fucking average. They take them all.
But all right, I know.
If we
that
added our two
I know
reviews-
that I'm out of my depth here, okay? But I'm gonna say I also don't think that the people who run Rotten Tomatoes are the same as like Nate Silver. I don't think they've got the same handle on statistics that 538 has.
Fine.
So let's not pretend that they've got their that they've figured it all out. Either.
All right.
More than me, sure, but that's a low bar.
All right. I'm moving on.
Yeah, we
This-
need to move on because I'm not gonna suddenly understand math in the next 5 minutes. So
House Party 3 is a 1994 movie directed by Eric Meza or Meza. I don't know.
no, I don't know either.
He has mostly directed music videos and something
Okay.
called The Breaks. I could not find
These
a budget.
are the breaks.
Yeah, I guess. Give me a break.
Break it up.
I mentioned Gimme a Break once before during our Bad News Bears episodes. Nell Carter,
you
everyone.
know how you talk about how you're musically illiterate,
Yes.
and I strongly suspect that you're not. Do you even know what I was talking about then? When I said the breaks, break it up.
No.
Okay. Yeah, you went straight to "Give Me a Break." Which
Yeah,
is
that's what I thought of. Give me a break.
Sitcom? It's
Yeah.
like a starring
Starring Nell
from,
Carter, goddammit.
from someone from the Bad News Bears Breaking Training. That's where I know it from.
Dolph. What did I say his name was? Dolph something? Sweetheart? Not Sweetheart.
Dolph Lundgren.
Something. No. Anyway, I could not find a budget on House Party 3, but I'll tell you its opening weekend was $6.8 million, and in the USA and the world, it gathered $19.2 million, like all of these movies apparently do.
No, this is fabricated.
19.
You can't have one budget and box office for multiple movies. It's fraud.
19.4 on the last one, on a $6 million. No, on a $5 million budget. How this movie spent $1.8 more million than the last one is beyond me. I assume just for its 2 stars and their salary.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because this movie doesn't look as good as the last one. Tell you that much.
I don't think again. I don't think there's any I don't think there's much of a discernible difference between the two movies at that level.
You were wrong.
Okay.
This is going to be fun.
Well, we've already had, we've already had there wasn't, well, no, we agreed that the difference between 4 and 5 is slicker version of the same bullshit.
Yeah.
I'd argue there's something similar here. It's just there's two different sides of the same coin.
No, I really...
You want to make a House Party sequel, you either do something worthy and sincere, or you ham it up and make this. Both are equally valid to me.
If I thought
another one's slightly better, but I don't think this is less valuable.
If I thought the ham in this one was as funny as apparently you do, then I think I'd agree with you, but...
There probably is a lot of actual ham in it as well.
Yes.
Some of the characters are butchers, so...
Right. But I find those butchers not at all funny.
The concept is funny. This is what I mean. Like, this movie's got some good... Even when it falls flat, it's got some good comedic ideas.
No, yeah, I'll give you that. I guess part of my problem is... by the time we get to the end of this movie, when they're not going to serve any food unless they get the rest of their payment, my note was, didn't they get all their money in that previous scene? A third of the way through the movie? They took all of Kid and Play's money. They gave them the money, not a deposit, all the money.
Okay. I don't remember it being that clear cut.
Oh,
who
man.
Who are you going to believe?
The words coming out of your mouth or my brain.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sign up for the Patreon, everybody, to get to our Amazing Spider-Man cold open or not cold open argument.
Well, and eventually we realized that we were both wrong.
Or both right.
No, we were both wrong because there were eventually no titles.
I still have to look it up.
No, it's never going to happen.
I'm going to do that tonight.
This is where sort of Ron Howard narration would come in. Mike didn't do that tonight.
The number of things I say to you that I'm going to do today, the second we get off, and then don't do. The list is long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get that artwork done immediately. I'll send it right over.
Listen. I will not accept this. You're a grafter.
Well, my first note is that we start with another dream.
That is pretty much my very, very first note is how unfortunate the font and the color for the titles are, because it makes the movie look like it's the product of an adult superstore.
Right.
But my second note is the same of yours. We're back in a nightmare, which makes me wonder if the original House Party begins with a nightmare.
That was exactly what I thought. The same exact thing.
Otherwise,
what the hell's going on? Otherwise,
why would they keep doing this for every movie?
Right.
But it also tonally as well, it's the same problem where you've got this kind of flat, muddy opening to a movie called House Party.
Yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah, and there's so much to take in so quickly here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, especially, because you're playing catch up. Because,
boy, are you? Yeah,
kids waking up to a woman that we do not know.
Well, even before that, even during the dream,
yeah,
we've got a lot to contend with. Kids' new hair, primarily.
Yes, correct.
New girlfriend, as you said. The credits are rolling at this point, so you know TLC are going to be in the movie, and they're going to play a band that isn't called TLC.
Right.
So there's cognitive dissonance there, and then Tisha Arnold is going to make a special appearance, and as soon as they announce the special appearance, there she is on screen. So her appearance is both announced, and then it happens. So this is hard to keep up with.
I also wrote that there's couple rape ?
Couple rape ? Is that?
I don't know. I just wrote couple rape ? Is that in the dream? Are they as a couple about to be raped?
I think he's sort of trying to pressure into having sex in the morning, but
Oh, that's what it was. Because
Yeah.
he ends
And
that with saying my balls are blue.
Right. And while I wouldn't go so far as couple rape, I would say I don't like this new sexually confident and assertive version of Kid.
Yeah.
But I have to accept it because it's a few years later and he's maturing.
He's grown up.
Yeah. So it's kind of got to happen, but I just don't like looking at it.
Right.
You know, we talked in previous episodes how much Kid is like a human cartoon, and you know, you don't want to see a human cartoon with blue balls.
I think that's one of the reasons this movie rubbed me the wrong way, because so much of the humor relies on male kind of bullshit. Starting right at the top with, "Hey, you gotta finish me off. My balls are blue. That's not nice. And what are you doing getting married and fuck women and you can't."
Yes, but the women are far better represented than they are in House Party 2.
Okay.
They're way more active. There's more of them in traditionally male roles than we've seen before.
I'll give you that.
In the last film. So it's counterbalanced to some extent. Not to say there aren't a ton of issues, but actually I thought this movie did quite well in representing women. It's not objectifying them, but it's giving them a voice and an active presence.
It was so prevalent through all male conversations in the movie that it just started to bum me out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that I certainly agree with, and that sort of triggers other, bigotries and inequalities, like sizeism and homophobia and transphobia, and
all of that is present in this movie, and it's
those are the bigger representational issues in the movie. I'd say. Yeah. I think that the gender balance is generally pretty good throughout.
All right. But as we open, we now are going to understand that Kid is in a relationship. He's getting married.
Right.
Like you said, he is now, I don't know if he graduated college or not, but he is a grown-up. He has a job. It
never happened. As far as this movie's concerned, it never happened.
Yeah, you're right.
The timelines don't add up. Because when he and Play get together, one of the first things they talk about is how they've been doing this music thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, so that's not possible if you graduated college, because it's like 4 years later.
Yeah,
and presumably his course is like at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So a year is not a while to be doing.
The only way it works out is if he was doing both simultaneously.
But then the last movie is also redundant, because it's very clear you have to do one or the other. You can't do both. Like that's the true. Entire tension of the movie. True. So whichever way you slice it, House Party 2 doesn't exist in continuity.
All right.
I won't accept it. Maybe it was part of the night. Maybe it was the first part of the nightmare that we see at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know how in Dreamtime is different, because you're only actually dreaming a few seconds before you wake up, but it feels like it goes on for hours and hours.
Forever.
Yeah.
Agreed. And so we pick up our nephews at the airport, right?
Well, yeah, and before that, we have one of our many cameos.
Yeah.
The first kind of big one for me being Gilbert Gottfried, who's playing an airport attendant, and he's coming in hot. As
he normally would. Yes.
Yeah, there was. I like to think this was the first and only take.
Right. Yes.
Because that would make me very happy. Whichever way it went down, whether he wouldn't do another one or they thought it was perfect, because I agree on both counts.
Yes, exactly.
There's no need to do that. There's no need to do this more than once. We get the idea.
I feel the same for Beverly Hills
You're
Cop
loud
2.
and annoying. We get it. Yeah, we've gone from kid and play to playing kids.
Right.
What
are they called?
Immature.
Immature.
And they're the sort of new. They're both the new central musical act.
But Kid and Play don't know that at this time, right? They're not on their radar. They're just like...
It's so funny because both on and off screen, Kid and Play are like sort of marginalized in their own movie.
Right. I know.
But they're also a new demographic for us to deal with, right? So
true.
And the movies keep doing this. They keep the main characters from this point onwards will all be different ages of children.
Yes, right.
But this is the youngest, I think, of all.
For sure.
The youngest that they go, which just goes to show you can be making any kind of movie, but if it's a sequel, you're eventually gonna end up with kids.
Stick around long enough.
Yeah.
Your only choices are kids or space.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting, given that I don't think this is the kind of movie where you need to explain why Sydney is absent, that they take the time.
I know, right?
Explain why
the
Sydney is absent.
The nephews
given what we've just said about, the timeline of the last film doesn't
right,
seem to
yeah,
matter.
exactly. They ignore that, but they think, in their minds, listen, even though he's woken up or was dreaming about and then woke up with another woman,
yeah.
So it's plainly evident that he has a different relationship. We'd better explain it.
And I gotta say, to me, this tests the limit of what counts as a special appearance, because she's in a lot of this movie.
Oh, you think?
Well, like 3 scenes, which is, if you as you know, the baseline for me for this is, even though it's not called a special appearance, is Charlton Heston in Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, of course.
And I think this is more screen time than he has.
I don't remember her. I remember 2 scenes.
Oh, there's at least 3. There's the nightmare at the beginning. There's when she meets his fiance.
Meets the fiance. I forgot about the nightmare, and then she's at the end.
There's that scene that goes on forever in the hotel.
In the hotel
party.
Yeah.
Which is kind of really 3 scenes, because they go, they have they start the argument, they come to blows, and then they come back together. So that's like 3 scenes basically.
Don't they do that all in like 90 seconds?
So was this just them sort of like on set going, do you mind just staying a little bit longer?
Maybe, yeah.
We've thought of something else you can do.
Because as we mentioned in the previous episode, she's right in the middle of Martin now.
Right. And so's Martin, but Martin's not there.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been replaced by Stinky.
By Stinky. That's my
The first time you see Stinky, you go, well, that's who Martin Lawrence is. That's who Martin Lawrence is now.
Stinky is the Martin surrogate.
It's kind of.
We have not traded up.
No, we've not traded up. No, not at all. But he's the new hanger-on for this movie.
Sure.
Except, well, I mean, nobody's gonna come back. But if they made it like a House Party 4 with Kid and Play, conceivably Stinky could still have been a part of it.
Right.
He's not going to do a Martin Lawrence.
That would have been fun to see,
96.
like if they kept making these with Kid and Play.
I have so many unanswered questions from this movie.
Right, yeah.
Like
who would have stuck around?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was naive to think that the next movie would have any relation to this one.
Yes, exactly. Well, and then so then we go to see and meet Showboat.
Yes, absolutely.
And that meeting goes poorly.
It certainly does. And the Honey Heavies, that felt like a shift in tone to putting women's in roles that only men played in the previous 2 movies. Of course, you know what I'm focusing on in this scene, which is the Rottweiler and how
Yeah.
you only ever hear it being aggressive off screen. Because I know from experience, it's very hard to like defy the sweet nature of a Rottweiler, the sweetest animals on earth. So you're actually gonna get no shots of them barking or looking aggressive. And every time they are on screen, they're just like,
docile.
They just had this giant smile, docile with a giant smile on their face, which really jeopardizes the kind of central slapstick scene of the movie. Which is
right, yeah, I was just gonna
because
say
you can't
that
actually get a Rottweiler on screen looking like chasing someone unless they're doing it with a big smile on their face because someone threw a ball. And there's some. Yeah, and they use TLC, aka sex is a weapon, are being used as a weapon to get Kid and Play out of trouble.
right.
Because they're managing them? ?
Well, that's the setup.
That's okay. That is what happens, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about the Chitlin circuit, which is really interesting because it's the color divide of pop
Right.
music touring for black artists at the time. It's like, do you play the Chitlin circuits or do you play the mainstream?
Yeah, right.
Like cross-racial circuit. So I thought it was both. That was both interesting and ironic, given that TLC attained and eventually
Blew up, right.
They're like, sure, we'll do the Chitlin circuit, but eventually they would achieve unlimited mainstream success. They're a band who would have never had to play the circuit.
Maybe that's part of my problem, because my music ignorance. I thought they were playing a TLC-like group. I didn't know that they were TLC.
Yeah, they're TLC.
Yeah.
It does say that in the opening titles.
Does it? I also get them
It says
confused with Salt and
TLC
Pepper.
TLC as sex is a weapon.
Maybe I was... You pause for those sorts of things. Maybe I... to write shit down. Perhaps I was looking down when that credit came up.
Trying to shave a few minutes off the time you spend preparing for this podcast.
Always.
And I sort of like the way... Well, I liked everything about TLC in this movie. That's the musical highlight of the movie for me. But
yeah.
I like the way that they incorporate the three-way musical dynamic of the band into their dialogue. So
yes, right.
They talk as a trio. I thought that was a kind of cute way of translating their sort of musical style into...
There was that, and they do try to...
live action. I mean, it's all live action, but you know what I mean.
Yes. But there's cartoonishness. There's cartoonishness within especially these front two movies. There's lots of cartoonishness in both of these sequels. But I did like I like that, like what you were saying, the idea of their sort of three-way talking, but that within that they're trying to individualize. There's lots of, I think people that were in the know at the time might have known more about. I don't know which one it is that keeps kind of making weird sounds as she talks, but it was amusing to me. Like it did.
Yeah,
it did get,
absolutely. Yeah.
It got chuckles out of me. So
I think that's Lisa Left Eye. I think you're talking.
If you say so.
Who? R.I.P.
Oh, dead.
Yeah, for quite a long time now though. She died very young.
Well,
having said that, I also did notice that one of them looks directly in the camera. So
yeah, I noticed that too.
It's not just, sometimes when you bring musicians into the performance world,
they're thinking video.
Yeah, it doesn't always translate.
I tell you what, why don't we take a break?
Yeah.
And then we'll come back. We'll continue on with House Party 3.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's
right after this.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need. The Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
And we're back. Tom and I are here. We're chatting House Party 3. The basically last of the kid and play involved house party movies.
The last meaningful house party.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You know, one of these days we'll get around to that reboot.
We will. They gotta be in it.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, it's a conversation for the next 2 episodes, but, you know, as far as I'm concerned, there's 3 reboots. Of this series.
You're right.
The 2023 one is just
it's the third and last reboot.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the most recent.
All right, where were we?
I'm at the jail themed butchers.
Yes.
Which I thought was a nice piece of set design, good bit of visual comedy. And a fun commentary on, you know, society in general.
Yeah.
Prison, people of color in prison and readjusting to society, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it.
There's a better one later, but this is pretty good.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention something I really liked, which was reminded me that comedies can experiment with visual style. Mm-hmm. Despite what the people who write reviews think. In the opening scene, when the phone rings in Play's apartment, or the apartment of whatever woman he's with.
Yes.
I think is the implication. The phone, they did kind of mount the phone to the camera and have it zoom in. Or have it, like, track to the...
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was, like, a really nice kind of visual device.
All right.
Like someone had put some thought into that.
At some point, let's
just do it differently.
I wrote, because Showboat, it's funny to watch movies in little time capsules, you know? So it's 1994, and they're at Showboats, and somebody picks up the landline, and he says, "That better be local." And I just remember thinking, like, a teenager watching that movie now and thinking, what the hell does that mean? Like, remember how like, if you went to any parent's house, it was like, so don't you make a long distance call. Yeah.
Before all your phone calls were free on various internet apps. We cared about a very strange distinction.
Yeah.
That was entirely geographical. It feels like, I don't know, this feels like obviously this is a more broadly comic than the last film.
Yeah.
But it also feels more raw, like less kind of sanitized. There's a lot more, like, they drop the N-word a lot more in this movie,
that's my next topic of conversation for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what you thought of that with today's eyes.
I don't remember hearing it in House Party 2.
No, not I can't remember.
Which makes me think there was a conscious effort to avoid using it.
Maybe, yeah.
Whereas here, and I was wondering how much this has to do with, you know, social changes towards reclaiming the word, using it kind of positively against racists, and whether...
Well, because we've given play to that before in a, you know, culturally speaking, African Americans taking that word back from the, you know...
From Quentin Tarantino,
yeah. Yeah, the negative connotation, and trying to own it themselves. But hearing it over and over and over again, it's like one of those things that like it just starts to bum me out.
It bums me out less. You know, this is the same year as Pulp Fiction, right?
True.
I'd rather hear it in this movie, like, you know,
Okay.
people who can own it.
Yeah.
But it just I didn't really have, you know, I didn't really feel one way or another about it. I just felt, I was just struck by...
It was just there a lot, I noticed.
It was there a lot, and it felt like we never heard it in the second film, which makes kind of sense given the project of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and this is a division in black culture that goes back way further than this. You
Yeah,
know,
right, yeah.
Richard Pryor in the 70s stopped using the word,
Mm-hmm.
you know, after he went to Africa. And
Yeah, he said, I'll never use that word again.
Right. So I think, you know, it's that tension in reverse. House Party 2, you know, it's about the black college experience, and it's about black people bettering themselves, and so it might sort of seem out of place in a movie like that. But
Okay.
no one's trying to better themselves in this movie, so
That's true.
it's just kind of a free for all, really.
Yeah.
But you know, and it's like, you know, what's the degrees of realism there? Like, is it better to aspire to not using it? Is that a better project, or is it better to just represent how
Yeah.
it might be used in everyday terminology?
yeah,
Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I could see arguments both ways. As long as Quentin Tarantino's not using it and saying it's okay for him to use it, I'm fine. I love the fact that the person that he kind of that he chooses to discuss that with is Bill Maher, of all people. Like,
Yeah.
the one guy who also doesn't have a problem using that word.
Well,
In mainstream media.
until it got him into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and then he started to complain about having to apologize all the time. So
Right.
I don't think it was particularly genuine. Candy Alexander, who's an actor I really like. She's in one of my
Yes.
favorites
News. Oh,
TV
wait.
shows of all time.
Yeah, me too. News radio.
Oh, that's a different show. Treme is mine. And she's in both of them, so there you go.
All right.
For different reasons, she's one of our favorite actors.
I have still not watched Treme.
Well, if you like Candy Alexander, I would say jump
Go and
in
watch
with
it?
both feet. Yeah. I think it's better than The Wire, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. Heavy praise.
Yep. It sure is.
She's great. And she's great in this movie.
She is, yeah. And she's necessary as well. I think she's a necessary character. Although some of her dialogue does have that kind of clunky feel to it where, you know, you begin by saying the relationship of the person you're talking to.
Yes.
So she's like, look, I'm your cousin, or you're my
Yes.
cousin, or sort of like, it's like, come on, we're better than this.
Well, and also both she and Play seem to be on the same page at the beginning of this movie, in which they're both questioning the choices of their friends in why are you getting married, why are you doing this, why are you blah 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 blahing, and then they turn very quickly in support of their friends by the end of the movie without any real motivation other than that's how they should have been the entire time anyway.
True. Yeah, there's not much of an arc for anyone here.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, essentially they've replaced college with marriage.
Yes, right.
Because it's exactly the same tension between kid and play, but just a different vehicle for it.
Just a different subject, yeah.
Different delivery system, but the same
Yes.
tension. And as we know, college doesn't exist in the timeline, so it's fine.
Isn't it about now we meet Uncle Vester?
Uncle Vesta? Yeah. Bernie, I was going to say, if Gilbert Gottfried came in hot, so does Bernie Mac.
Man, does he come in hot.
At this point, I'm starting to feel bad for Kid and Play because they're being acted out of their own movie. They're the headliners
so.
here, and these scene stealers keep coming in and sort of obliterating them from the frame. I mean, literally, and the way this scene ends up, you know, he comes into the room and there's so much Bernie Mac in the room that all Kid can do is just leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And leave
That's
him
my note.
talking to himself.
I know.
It's not even like, you know, when a stand-up comedian comes into a film, they do part of their routine in dialogue. But this movie doesn't even bother disguising it as dialogue. Kid
No.
just walks out and he's just there doing his stand-up routine to no one. And, you know, he's doing his own pilot for his titular sitcom.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because he comes in the room and 2 seconds later he's talking about beating children, which seems to be just like his thing, right? His stand-up is based on routines about beating his children, as far as I can tell. And his sitcom was about beating children. The right to beat children was at the center of that as well. Like,
But it's funny you say that because, not funny about the beating of the children, but
well, he makes it funny. I mean, that was
yeah.
You've got to be something of a comic genius if you can make that material funny. And he does.
That's true. But to me, it was so Bernie focused, and I almost started to get kind of off-put by it, even though it's
absolutely.
Bernie Mac.
Yeah.
That because it's an actor that, to me, doesn't understand what's happening in the movie because they're trying to take over. I'm like, this is not how a movie is supposed to go. And like you said, Kid has to leave just so he can have his rant.
Or even that he's in a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
I think if we can't now. God, there's a lot of people who've died in these movies.
That's true.
But we can't now, but if we were to ask Bernie Mac if he did House Party 3, I'm not sure he'd have any memory of doing it. I remember going into a house and doing my stand-up acts and then leaving.
But I don't know what it was for.
I don't know. I didn't know there were cameras there.
Nobody else mattered.
Yeah. It's, the next note I have is about the three blind rappers.
The disability comedy they went for?
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out what kind of disability comedy it was.
Right.
So, and I meant to look up whether these guys were actually blind or not, because that changes everything.
Yeah, right.
If they're actually blind, then it's Ray Charles and the Blues Brothers. If they're not, it's just ableist comedy.
Yes, right. Doesn't their license plate say "Look out"?
And if I'm being perfectly honest, I was too scared to look it up.
All right.
I don't think it would go my way.
Yeah, there's lots of little sidebars in this movie because you're jumping from Kid and Play, who we've already mentioned are kind of acted out of the movie, but that's the marriage storyline. Right. And then all of a sudden you're going to be with Bernie Mac, you're going to be with Immature.
Don't forget Aunt Lucy.
And Aunt Lucy.
Dementia. You never thought dementia could be that funny, right?
Yes, exactly. Watching that ass.
It's so funny because the first time I saw her, I was like, oh, they have to, like, she's a young actress and they have to make her up to look like she's 60 or whatever.
Yeah,
and then I looked up the age of the actual actress. She's about the same age as the character's supposed to be, but they just have to, like, put her in aging makeup.
They have to
so
heighten
she looks
it.
her age.
Right.
And all the associated stereotypes of black don't crack.
Well, and then we get there's a couple of things after this, like there's a couple of things in succession where I thought this movie and its comedy is not hitting me where I want to be hit, because we had disability comedy, we had immature sexualizing like 13, 12-year-old girls. I mean, granted, they're their age, but the camera wasn't, and it felt really weird.
The bit is not as pathological as you're making out. It's so the bit they're basically doing their own mini version of the original House Party. This is like
how
Muppet
do you know?
Babies
You haven't
House
seen
Party.
it. What?
No, you know what I mean, of the House Party formula. Even the last movie. It's Muppet Babies House Party.
Yeah, right.
That's what they're going for.
But it comes across weird, Tom.
I don't disagree, but
All right.
I understand. A better.
Well,
title
hang
for
on.
this
I've got
movie-
one more because
Okay.
right after, so we have the disability comedy, we have the sexualizing of very young women, and then Chris Tucker is pulling
Yeah.
a wad of money out of his dick in front of very small children. I didn't care for that.
Did you think that Chris Tucker was going to come back at some point?
Well, I so
Or is
that's
he too big a star by this point to do more than this one tiny cameo?
oh, I don't know. I didn't put it in a.
It's post Friday, right? It's definitely post Friday, and
Yeah.
probably a couple of Friday sequels. Tune in next year when we cover that series, everyone. After we're cancelled for doing House Party.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't timestamp it in that way, but I remember thinking this movie starting to feel like it has a fetish.
But that joke. But to your point about the comedy falling flat, that joke, that character only works if he comes back again.
Right. Yeah.
And it seemed to me that there was no chance of that happening because Chris Tucker is the biggest celebrity in the film.
In the
At
entire
this time,
movie.
is the most
Right.
famous person in the film. So, in wanting to have all these cameos, they're limiting what they can do comedically sometimes.
Yeah.
And this felt like one that, you should just cut out of the movie or put in the blooper reel or something, because it's like...
Well, and that's the other thing is, a lot of... I mean, maybe I should give the movie a bit of a break on this because it is fairly broad all the way through, but a lot of this feels like Chris Tucker came on set or Bernie Mac comes on set and they're just like, well, go ahead.
He drove Bernie Mac to set one
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
And they were like, come in. Tisha
Come on
Rollins here.
in.
We got her to stay for 10 more minutes.
If you've got the time, if you've got a half hour, just do whatever the fuck you want.
That's exactly what happened.
That's what this
Gilbert
movie
Gottfried
feels
was
like.
just wandering around
Exactly.
the studio.
Exactly. Yeah. He was on set to do some kind of roast, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Come on over."
The roast of Noriega or something like that.
Yes.
So I have a note here. The word retarded and beepers, both stuff you could put in 90s movies but not after.
Yes.
Enough said.
I can't remember what movie it was. There was a movie we watched recently that I said it was, like a compulsion, like it was an equal opportunity, like trying to diminish everyone and anyone it could.
Gotta be Bad News Bears.
No, it wasn't. It was something else. But that's what this movie felt like to me.
No, that's that is very targeted racism. I mean, it's the classic argument for racist comedians, isn't it? It's like taking pot shots at everybody.
At everyone, yeah. I make fun of white people too.
That's right. Just disproportionately people of color.
Yeah.
I do remember that we talked about the I should have said the R word. I shouldn't have repeated it. In Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, it said about Chekhov at one point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, but this is 94, so that's a whole 8 years later.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still not on our radar at that point.
No, clearly.
Yeah.
But the only time I realize this is when I watch movies from
Yes.
different periods of history, and I go,
Yeah.
"Whoa!" Because I try not to say offensive things to people in general in my life, and then I hear stuff. I was like, "Whoa! Nobody's making a big thing out of that. It must have been okay."
Yeah, right. Hollywood certainly has had a lot of blind spots for a lot of time.
And the truth is, especially comedies, will do what they can get away with, and I
Yeah, right.
agree that they should be on the very edge of political correctness.
Yeah.
So, but they, there are still terms that date very quickly,
Sure.
and this is one of them.
Well, and it's, if you take a look at like a Blazing Saddles,
Right. Which
You
has
know,
a
you're gonna-
it's different because it has a political purpose behind it.
that's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
all about who the joke is actually aimed at.
Yeah. This man is a
Cleavon Little is the smartest person in that movie. Smartest character. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And
So-
it was about racism in the Hollywood Western. It's probably the most progressive movie in terms of pointing out racism in the Hollywood movie.
Right,
In the Hollywood
exactly.
Western. But that's not this movie.
Nope.
I mean, not even I would try. And
Not
argue
even
that, and
for
I
a
really
second.
like this movie. Is there a sense that we won't find out until we've seen the original? But are they trying to slot Uncle Vester into the role of Kid's dad? Is that his kind of surrogacy here? Because he talks about his dead dad a lot.
Yeah, because it
But
it
not,
feels
in not glowing terms, which I kind
Right.
of like because it undercuts some of the sentimentality of that in the last film.
of the last movie.
Because doesn't he
Well-
say something like he still owes me money or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. But I did find it interesting because neither one of us has seen the first movie. It was still in imbas terms and sequel terms. It's obviously he's a surrogate for the father.
Yeah. But I think that was.
But
like,
also
the
the
sense I
complete
get is he
opposite
was
of a
real
character.
and Bernie Mac is not a real character.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
I feel no obligation to call him Uncle Vester. He's Bernie Mac.
Right. Also, why Vester? It sounds too much like Uncle Fester, which
I think that's the joke.
is that okay? So that's what they're
that's the-
going for. They think that's funny.
To quote Rainier Wolfcastle, that's the joke.
That's great.
And then we get to a scene that I like, and I think actually connects this movie to the last movie better than anything else in this film, which is the sort of the scene where Kid takes his goes to his fiance's in-laws' house,
Oh
Because-
man.
which ends up in gunplay.
Yeah, I don't know. I found that scene kind of frustrating.
Frustrating in what way?
I mean, it probably sounds too woke, but it just seemed weird that clearly middle to or upper middle class black family degenerates all into gunplay.
But that's the joke, right? That's the comedy of it. It's basically
Yeah, I
it's
don't know,
turning
it
the
didn't
Cosby
sit right.
Show on its head and sort of like
Okay.
it's like
yeah.
it's
I don't
sort
know.
of like it's sort of saying the idealization of the middle class black characters in media is sort of being turned on its head here.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
But it feels regressive to me still.
Okay. It's again, it's sort of what do you value more? Is it you value the House Party 2, which is
Right. Yeah.
over
I mean, but-
idealized, or do you want it to be like
Yeah.
too on the nose, too like absurd? I guess it's an absurd inversion.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. I guess maybe
of
I
what
maybe
should
I
be
just.
happening, which is to me how a lot of comedy works.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something I kind of quite liked about it is like the juxtaposition of how insanely deadly the violence was, but the characters
Yes,
themselves were
right.
laughing it off, and that was, I don't know, there was something in that I thought is very true of families in general, sort of like, when you're in a crazy family, none of it seems crazy. It just seems like, harmless eccentricity. But from the outside, there's a guy with a knife and a gun chasing you down the street.
There was one thing within the whole thing that I did find amusing, and it was the daughter and her reaction to
Yeah.
everything, because she did seem like as though, well, this is how a lot of our dinners go.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I liked
And so
about
that
it,
part
yeah.
of it,
was a good
that was the
fulcrum.
one part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one part that made me go, okay, at least I think they know what they're doing.
She's like the
in
Marilyn.
terms of the comedy, in terms of it being a joke.
She's the It's like Marilyn in the Munsters, isn't it? Like the Munsters
Yeah,
are funnier
right.
because Marilyn is part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, there's a piece of gross out comedy that made me physically sick. Probably the most effective piece of gross out comedy I've ever seen in my life, which is the Toe Jam Cracker. Where Showboat puts his toe jam on a cracker and serves it to Kid and Play. Like, even talking about it now, I can feel stuff moving around in my stomach. It's the most disgusting thing. And the visual they've got, like this little fucking ramekin full of toe jam. I don't know what they used to make that toe jam, but it looks like they punched a slug to death and then slapped it in a ramekin.
Just put it in.
Oh,
I have to tell you,
destroyed me.
I don't remember that part.
Good. Well, I'll never forget it.
I guess I dodged a bullet.
You did, yeah. There was a moment where he's got like a whole cheese. He's got like a charcuterie for them, and part of the charcuterie is he's put his toe jam in a ramekin, and then he spreads it on a cracker, like it's
Wow.
like it's brie, and then tries to feed it to Kid and Play, or Kid or Play. I don't remember which. My memory of it ends at which character it was who ate it. Who had to eat it.
I must have gone in a fugue state. Maybe this is when I realized there was a fifth movie. A fourth sequel. Or fifth sequel.
And then there's a Showboat has. I mean, I don't count that as great because it makes me so sick. But you know, I've got to say, as a piece of gross out comedy, it's very effective because it makes me want to throw up.
It certainly does gross you out.
Yeah. But just after this, when he's going around town trying to find Kid and Play,
Yeah, right.
I think one of the best gag in the movie is the joke about the Motel 6 in the hood that serves complimentary 40 ounces in the lobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, like they follow through on it, so the next time you see him in the car, he's got a 40 next to him.
He's got it. Yeah.
And, you know, it's something about, like, Showboat's performance, which is a little more refined than everyone else's. So, you know, Gilbert Gottfried is...
That's true.
is hot,
Yeah.
And then, you know, Bernie Mac is hot. But he says that line as if he really means it. And it made me laugh.
That guy...
more because
I think his name is Mitchell Coyer. That guy is playing a character.
Exactly.
And he's funny. Yeah.
And surprising as well. Like, you know, and he goes to the bachelorette party, and then he just takes his clothes off and decides to join
He
the
just
stripper
starts-
on stage. And
he
it's not like
tries
it's
to
not
outdo
really
the
a
stripper.
bit. Like, it doesn't sort of go anywhere. It's just a character
No, yeah.
work played out.
Yes, exactly.
And I love it. I think it's great. And then you look at it,
I
you
did
sort
think
of go
that
like,
was funny.
It's like, well, he doesn't have a terrible body, so it's not like Danny DeVito in Friends or anything like
Right.
that. But his body's not as great as this guy's. But that's not the point. The joke is the character has just decided to get up there and start dancing with the
Don't they also kind of have a moment where the women are looking at both and kind of trying to decide what
Yeah,
they
exactly.
like, you know, like the positives and the negatives of each man?
And, you know, we buried the lead here because in the last movie we talked about it. It took half of the movie before they decided to have a party.
Right.
This
right.
movie has 3 different house parties. In
House parties.
It should be
Yes.
called 3 House Parties, not House Party 3.
That would have been a better title for the movie. And so now we're just into, like, cross-cutting between the 3
Right.
parties.
Since we're almost to the parties, why don't we take one more break and then we'll come back?
Sure.
All right. We'll do that,
I'm
everyone.
gonna watch a tape of the Ninja Turtles.
If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to
Stay on target.
and check out the Sounds and Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer, and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer, and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
stay on target.
Find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably be described as Doug, the dog from Up, and another man with a soothing and sultry voice trying to get that man to
stay on target.
That's the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Tune in and listen to the sounds they are creating just for you. Back one more time. Finishing up
Unlike
with
this series.
Yeah, with multiple house parties. Both in this movie and in 2 more movies.
If anyone asks how many house party movies are, one too many.
Oh, I don't know. I think too many.
We'll have to see. You'll have to pay for the privilege of finding out that information.
And we covered this on Patreon.
Yes. Yeah, we're not done. We're not nearly done with the house party series. Who would have thought? Where were we? So we were about to have parties. Right before that, we get to, see Sydney again, right? She meets the wife. I think that was a little while back, but...
Oh, did we miss one of Sydney's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said that was a nice surprise.
We've had the yeah, she pops up at the clothing store, but I think the parties have to get going before she comes to the hotel. She's there celebrating her parents' anniversary or something. Some
yeah, I think so. Some bullshit
reason she's there. Yeah.
Some bullshit reason to put her in the same place where Kid is.
Yeah, exactly. So we've had 2 out of 3 Sydneys.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. And because we have to have one last fight, right?
Oh, between the 2 of them, one last argument.
Yeah.
Well, it's a non-argument though, right?
No, yeah, it turns into nothing 90 seconds later because both friends say, "Stop! What are you gonna do? Not marry them? This is the happiest you've ever been." All right, you're right.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, yeah, in my head it's Sydney and Kid are fighting, which essentially they are, but it's not. It's him and his fiance because she sees them kissing Sydney, and I thought this was, I wouldn't say good, but I like that they sort of resisted the low-hanging fruit of the Three's Company misunderstanding. Like, it gets straightened out very quickly.
Yeah, but
they just go off to the fire escape.
There are Three's Company misunderstandings. They just never actually talk about it. Like they lapse. There's one misunderstanding when he's upstairs. Talking to his friends, and she's downstairs hearing them, and they're like, "Come on, you gotta do this and do that, not get married."
I'm just saying that the film has made the choice to not go down that road.
But what I'm saying is the movie seemed to clearly make a choice that there was a misunderstanding, a Three's Company misunderstanding, and they just disregarded it.
Well, we got Sydney for 10 more minutes. We're trying to...
True.
We're trying to make the best of it. Yeah, unsurprisingly, those are not my highlights of the film.
All right.
I think, I like the hard cut of how much fun they're having at the bachelorette party, and then going to Kid and Play trying to figure out how to turn on a video.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that was a good juxtaposition, and of course the swapped videos, which a tried and tested comic bit.
So for any people listening and having trouble following along who have not seen this movie, what's really happening in this movie is the nephews, immature, have tried to swap parties with Kid and Play. So they are having the good party, a bachelor party,
even
with
Kid
the food delivered.
That.
Yeah, the food delivered by the prison inmates, and the porno and all the hot women and all the good music.
Well, they're not watching
and-
the porn, but curiously, they're not watching the porn.
No, yeah, no, that's
they're
true.
using it to hold Aunt Lucy hostage upstairs.
Hold Aunt Lucy upstairs, saying, "What's going on down there? It's loud. Don't worry about it, Aunt Lucy. Just watch your video."
Yeah, so it's like we're going to extreme lengths
Yeah.
to have at least. So, and here's the other thing: like, there's only actually one house party if you want to be technical about it.
Technical, yeah.
There's a
There's
two.
a hotel party.
The other one is in a house. The other one is a house.
I guess
There's
so.
two house
The
parties,
Bachelorette.
2 house parties and a hotel party.
Yeah.
But we have to go to quite extreme lengths. Like, they have to lock away an old woman. They have to con
Yes.
everybody they meet in order for
Yeah.
this to happen. Including Chris Tucker.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's how it's. So it's again, once again, Kid and Play are eclipsed.
Yes. Yes.
Even
In their own
when
movie.
it comes to holding house parties, which
No
at the
wonder
very
they're not
least
in the
you'd
next
think that
movie.
they would come out on top of, but they
Yeah.
do not. So there's a wistful quality about the Kid and Play in this movie.
In the sense that the audience thought they'd see more of them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess compared to the next 2 movies, it's more.
You
but
get
it's far less
much
than
more
you're
compared to the
expecting.
next 2 movies. Yeah.
This is
But we
where,
go back to,
the
a lot of.
transphobia and the
Yeah, I was
body
gonna say
fat
there's so there's
stuff.
lots of transphobia and there's a lot of anti-fat humor and there's
And the anti-fat humor is kind of curious because it like you kind of sort of like some large body sizes are prized and then others are denigrated.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a real double standard to it.
And I seem to recall, because I made a note, I seem to recall there was a lot of transphobia humor in Naked Gun 33 1/3.
Oh,
And that's the same
period
year?
for it.
Yeah,
This
it's the
is
same
the
year,
peak.
94.
This is peak transphobia time in Hollywood because there's RoboCop 3 as well.
Mm.
There's Ace Ventura: Pet Detective,
Yeah.
which ends with a transphobic joke, transphobic plot twist, if you will.
Yeah, right.
And it's always dated and unfunny. And
Yeah.
it's always like, isn't it? The idea of female identifying men is cause for you to throw up. That's always
That's always, it's always the one joke.
And I guess also in not just in comedy but also in drama because that's what happens in The Crying Game.
Yeah, you're right.
But that is sort of the point of the movie, and they eventually get over it. Spoilers for Neil Jordan's
right.
Crying Game from 1992.
1992. Stephen Rea was very surprised.
He was even more surprised than he was about Forrest Whitaker's British accent. Yeah, I don't really know.
So I think we're
getting close to the end.
we are. I mean, so essentially, this movie is
So Kid and Play passed the gauntlet to immature, essentially.
but
To
and
a younger
the
generation of party animals.
so they're passing it along, and then the other part is they have to go on with their producer lives. This is the kind of the funny part where you introduce sorry, what's their name again? Sex Only.
Sex as a Weapon,
Sex as a Weapon.
aka TLC.
So, Sex as a Weapon, and they've
TLC
been
IRL.
absent. Yeah, they've been absent since the beginning of the movie. I guess presumably trying things on their own and just deciding, oh, this isn't working.
Doesn't matter.
But it's only been like 24 hours. There's no reason for them to come back to Kid and Play, but they're going to.
Yeah, it's just
They're going to realize the error of their ways.
we're just wrapping multiple storylines into a happy ending. Everyone kind of has
We're tying off nice
an
bows.
unprompted change of heart.
Yeah,
Happens
exactly.
to everyone in these series.
And
so.
I already mentioned this
It's
earlier,
like the
but
end
the
of the
boat.
Tempest.
You're right. Both friends are going to pull through, And the two friends that have been dubious about this marriage are now going to cheerlead for the marriage.
That's right.
Yeah. And Kid and Play are going to sign sex what?
Sex is a weapon.
Sex is a weapon.
Change their name
I'm
to
sorry.
TLC, and then
TLC, yeah.
That's what happened. Is like the TLC became so successful that the Kid and Play in the movie were too famous to be in the next couple of movies.
In the subsequent sequels.
Actually, that would be in World. That would be borne out by how they reappear at the end of the 5th movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just something I want to mention. My favorite Showboat's my favorite
Character.
part of the verbal comedy in the movie.
Yeah.
In terms of the visual comedy, my favorite character is the ex-con. Not the jail butchers.
Oh.
The guy, the big guy who turns up at 2 different house parties.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Smashes the place up. It is just anarchic visual comedy at its best. And it's such a basic bit, but that guy is so committed to it.
He
If
is.
If you watch the, I mean, he's destroying things with. It's like Animal from the Muppets. It's amazing. And even the
I forget,
line
what
where
is
they
he-
say, now that's an ex-con.
Yeah. What does he find that pacifies him?
I can't remember, but you're right. There is something.
There's a CD or something, right?
Doesn't he get to DJ? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Which that's going to come back in a couple of movies. The ability. to
Indeed, it
DJ
will. Yes.
will be a hotly contested plot point of who gets to DJ.
I had a
And,
nostalgia
unlike
trip.
Sorry.
I had a nostalgia trip for this movie.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I saw somebody in the background with a slush puppy cup.
Oh, right, great.
Do you remember slush puppies?
They were sort of semi-available in England. That's all I
Okay.
remember about them. I remember growing up not really seeing them and not really knowing what they were, what kind of a substance they were.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that your
It was like a
experience of it
Slurpee.
too?
It was like a Slurpee, but it was denser.
Was it like? But it was also a little bit shaved ice, right? That was.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it was like beads of ice. That's what it
Well,
seemed
that sounds
like.
fucking horrible.
Thinking about it now, yes, I remember
Yeah.
thinking, why did we like those so much? But,
Yeah.
it
It's kinda
reminded
funny,
me
like,
of,
at the
what's that episode on The Simpsons where the squishy, where Bart and Milhouse both have the squishy and then they have an adventure for a day,
Boy Scouts in the Hood.
Yeah, there you go. Reminded me of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to take us down a slush puppy tangent.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking about, like, at the time in, what was it, the 80s, 90s? Is that when they were sort of popular?
Yeah. More
Um,
the 80s, I think, but
It must have seemed like such, like, just all profit, right? Because all you
Yeah,
need to
right.
provide is the ice, and you just put flavoring in it.
hmm
And that stuff is so concentrated it can last for a long time. But nowadays, getting the ice is probably the expensive part.
right, yes.
It's probably more expensive to have that much water in your product.
You need a Brewster's Millions kind of idea. What we do is we put a flag on this. We drive down the ice down to Chicago.
That's right. Also, another Simpsons episode, the Bobo episode,
Right.
Mr. Burns' Citizen
Citizen,
Kane
yeah.
episode, where they bring the ice in from the Arctic. and
From the-
it's like, we
yeah,
lost 3
right.
men last time. You can think of a better way to make ice. I'd like you to tell me. And you're
No,
all welcome
that's good
for
stuff.
me not doing the Apu voice. we're in enough trouble as it is. So I'm really gonna end this episode by doing the Apu voice.
Please don't.
Yes. And then, then TLC steal.
Yeah, they do, right?
So, again, it starts out as a Kid and Play number, and then TLC get involved. They steal the number from them, and then subsequently steal the film from them.
Totally.
And not to say that Kid and Play aren't a respectable musical act, because I think every time every time they do something musical, it's really
in these
good.
movies, it's
But
good, yeah.
they're surrounded by people who are better, and that's just factual.
Right.
I love how this sequence is filmed, though, because it's...
do they say make some noise, or is that the name of the song?
Potentially both.
Could be. But anyway, I wrote, this is what I want.
Yeah, exactly. This was definitely the entertainment highlight of the movie for me.
Yeah.
And it was filmed really well because, it was filmed as a live performance. There was no cutting
right.
or camera movement. It was just... which is a kind of... Especially, I guess, from some people who are known for making music videos, which, notoriously have a lot of editing in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a recognition of, the attraction is the live performance. We don't need to dress it up. We don't.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Else. And they're absolutely right. You've got two kind of hit makers performing, doing a duet. Two sets of hit makers.
It was my favorite part of the movie. This is what I, literally, I thought.
I think I agree.
Now I'm liking it.
Is there anything as well in there being like three TLC or a trio, Kid and Play or a duo?
A duo.
Oh,
2 to 3.
Immature or a trio as well.
Yeah.
So
it's that classic.
If they'd have done another movie, it would have been Boys to Men.
Yeah, it's that classic sequel ramping up. This is this movie's version of sequel ramping up. Acts of 3 instead of duos.
No, I'm only
trios.
Sure that Boys to Men was 4.
Well, I just said yeah without knowing.
Well,
I just pretend. I just pretend like you're right and assume it when you say those things.
They'll just run out of quartets and it'll be El Divo. It'll just be we won't even be the same musical genre. We just need people who are the
ladies and gentlemen, the Boston Pops.
The Beatles. Da, 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 da. Oh, gosh. I hope I didn't do that too well, or we'll have to pay for that. That'll be fun to try and put that into YouTube and see if the copyright makes me take it out.
You're safe.
Yeah, I think I'm safe. That was the most generic sounding Beatles intro the world's ever. That wasn't even the Ruttles.
Yeah, right.
And it ends with marriage. Ends with
a
milestone for kids, even though the last milestone apparently didn't happen.
We don't know for sure, but we think we know for sure.
And at this point, I have a note here. Are we going to walk this back like we did last time? So at this point, I must have had no foreknowledge that they weren't going to be in at least the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
How naive was that of me?
I do want to say, the one thing that it seems like shouldn't work at all in this movie, which is bringing Tisha Campbell back.
Oh, I think Tisha Arnold, didn't I? Tisha Campbell, sorry. 2 Tishas. Both of them are in Little Shop of Horrors. Sorry.
It's, I think
I point that out because it makes me sound less racist.
Thank you. Yes,
because they are traditionally cast together in several projects.
That's true.
They're both called Tisha.
I think this movie handles his moving on from a relationship that I assume is in both the first movie and the second movie in a smart way. And to have her come back and still be a part of the movie, and clearly only having her for a certain amount of time, but making the most of that time. I have to say, I don't know that we've come across a sequel that has done that quite as deftly as this movie did.
It's weird.
So
like I say, it's weird
that I respect a lot.
It's weird that it cares about it at all.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So everything they do towards that is
tick in their column.
Agreed. Anything left for you beyond a credit check?
Well, I've kind of got a transitional note. It's
Yeah.
just the kind of weird non-ending. It sort of fades out to the credits really quickly, while Bernie Mac is still mid routine.
Mid going bananas.
It sort of feels like the film's ready to end. Even if the people on screen don't know it.
Are not ready for
It's
ya.
over. It's over, guys.
Bernie, you've taken all the time we're going to give you.
Yeah, so it's a strange, and looking back, I think the last third of this movie feels like it knows this is the last time Kid and Play will do a house party movie, but I don't know. You never know.
Right. Yeah.
I felt that before I knew that was true.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the tone of the.
No, I agree with you. I think that's what this movie does feel like.
Yeah. Because normally I'm just reading. When I say those things, I'm just reading too much into it. But it's before I knew.
I don't
that it
think
was
so.
actually True. Before I knew it was actually true, I thought they were going to turn up in the next movie.
Well,
I didn't read ahead.
they do not.
They most certainly do not. Tune in next week.
Yeah. Oh, well, to
yeah,
get to that
I'm onto-
movie.
I'm on to credit check, so
All right, go ahead.
unless you have anything else.
No, yeah, that was it for me. I mean,
Do you like
It's-
it more now we've talked about it?
no.
That just means no, you're just like, no, I just like you. I don't actually like the movie.
You called it a good movie, though, right?
I did.
And I called it a bad movie.
I'm pretty sure you did, yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, it was just the gap between 2 and 3 was much further than it was for you.
And there is a gap. But for me, it wasn't a gap about quality. It was just about approach.
Okay.
But I got different things out of each of them.
Okay.
So I put them on the same level.
But House Party 2 is a slightly better all-round movie. That's for sure.
Agreed.
So now I don't understand the featuring distinction. So it says featuring, and then it's just the people who are in the movie. Like,
Oh, I would think featuring would have been TLC.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
And I
like,
guess maybe immature as well.
right. It's like both the most famous people in the film,
And then
the
it's like you go,
supporting comedic
I
music
would
acts.
say featuring those two acts, and then I would say with Chris Tucker and
Yeah,
Bernie Mac.
that distinction is not made.
And Bernie Mac as Uncle Fester. Sorry, Vester. Stupid movie.
That was what killed him in the end, He put a light bulb in his mouth. So there are five leads of the movie playing themselves.
Yeah, right.
And then many of the others in the movies are playing themselves, but with a different name. Obviously, with after a movie like this, I'm bracing myself for the, what they're gonna call the sort of fat girl characters in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But-
right.
I also should have been prepared for what they call the trans character, which is completely the wrong label. They call it
no.
transvestite.
Okay.
Not transvestites, transgender at the very least. The Dolly Grip is Michael Dolly Magic Jimenez. So 2 questions.
He must have
How
a
does that
T-shirt.
How does that nickname ever come up?
Right.
1. And 2, how do you say it when you do bring it up? Do you go, oi, Dolly Magic? Or do you go, oi, Mike Dolly Magic Jimenez?
I have
I
to
don't
imagine
understand.
somebody said, "You really are magic with that dolly,"
Yeah.
and then the T-shirts got made.
I wonder how much consent there is by the actual people to their own nicknames. Sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
There's people working on sound called Dead Air, and drivers whose nicknames are Crash.
That's not good.
These are ironic nicknames that seem to rule out repeat work. The caterers are the Cast Supper. I can't imagine they get much work on the sets of religious movies.
I was gonna say that they're just
I think they
going for wordplay.
The Christian market there with their
Don't expect a call from one Mel Gibson.
unless it's to unless you're Jewish and it's to abuse you verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of my credit check.
All right. That's it then.
Yeah,
House Party 3 in the books. Coming up next.
Coming up next, a low point.
House Party 4 down to the last minute. Now's your chance to really try and turn me around, because I put 4 above 5, not based on quality.
I will blind you with reasons that this is the worst movie in the series. You'll have to wear sunglasses. There'll be so many of them. And you're not going to be able to argue any of them.
Nope, I'm not.
So I don't know.
You're right about that.
All you're going to be able to say is, yeah, but the next film is worse.
Exactly.
We're in a Halloween kills end situation.
And then we'll have to wait till we get to that movie. And the roles will be reversed.
Right, but the roles reverse would be going, yeah, you're right, but it looks like these people have once picked up the camera, so still not the worst in the series.
Oh, that's great.
The next two episodes are going to be something wild.
You got that right.
We're in unprecedented territory here.
I'll say.
We're in direct to video hell.
Yeah, these movies are not good. So look forward to that, everyone. Mm-hmm. All right, you're gonna for the time being, you're gonna have to tell us what you think of House Party 3, the 1994 sequel. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Send that email to Everything
if you
Sequel.
Like this movie, write in, because I'm feeling very alone.
This is your favorite movie as a child. Tom needs a friend.
You can be my Samaritans for this, okay? I just
Send
need
it.
someone to talk to about it.
Send an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. Join our Patreon. Please, subscribe, download, rate, and review. I think that's it.
Watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, watch us on YouTube. There you go.
Watch-alongs, video watch-alongs, and full episodes.
We have so much content for you.
It's almost unfair. But unfair to whom?
Right.
That's for you to find out. There's only one way to find out.
All right, for Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Next time, you got it. It's House Party 4, down to the last minute. Say goodbye to everybody, Tom.
That's not turtle, that's ass.
Oh, Aunt Lucy.
Oh, Aunt Lucy with your obvious dementia.